All right, this is the video for the Unit 2 review sheet. I'm going to go through it in its entirety. You do not need to watch the entire thing. I don't expect you to. I expect you to go over the questions that you're not 100% sure of and make sure that you can do them. If you can do the review sheet, you can do the test. Number 1, draw a graph that represents a quantity decreasing at a steady rate. So you're just sketching it for this one. Here's a graph, and here's a line or a linear function that's decreasing at a steady rate. A steady rate, constant rate of change, that means a straight line. And then increasing at a steady rate would just be something like that. Which equation does not represent a linear function? So just by looking at the equations, the one that's not a linear function is the one where the exponent has a variable. So in A, y equals x squared plus 4, or x to the second power plus 4. That variable tells us, that variable having an exponent tells us that it's non-linear. In B, there is an exponent, but it's down to 3. 3 squared is just 9, so we can write this as y equals 9 minus 2x. Well, that's just a linear function. So definitely not B. Number 3, which line represents the best fit for the scatter plot data? So just to practice, draw a trend line on a scatter plot given. Remember, you want to draw a straight line through the middle of the data. It has to be a straight line, and it has to be in the middle as possible of the data. It does not need to start at the origin. So I'm just going to estimate here, something like that. That's a terrible straight line, so I'm going to do it again. You should be using a ruler, so I'm going to use the line function on the smartboard. And it should be something like that. And again, if yours is not exactly the same as mine, that's okay. I'm just going to fix up the line really quickly. Yeah, I think somewhere around there looks good. So that's the practice. Maybe the question will ask for the equation of that line. I see that it has a starting point of 60, and the slope seems to be about 10 over 1.5, up 10 over 1.5. So you just have to make sure, look at what they're counting by here. They're not counting by ones, they're really counting by 0.5s. So just be careful of that. Always look at what they're counting by. Number 4, find the slope and the y-intercept of the linear function y equals 1/3 x minus 5. When it's in slope-intercept form, the number in front of the x is the slope, and the constant number that is by itself is the y-intercept, choice D. Find the slope of the line that passes through the points -3, 7, and 3, 9. Label it x1, y1, x2, y2. The slope formula is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that's going to be 9 minus 7 over 3 minus -3, which is really just 3 plus 3. So if you wanted to write 9 minus 7 over 3 plus 3, that would also be correct. So that gives us 2 over 6, or 1 over 3. Find the equation of the line that has a slope of 4 and a y-intercept of -2. Y equals mx plus b. So y equals 4x minus 2. Okay, Bicycle Club went on a 6-hour ride. The graph below shows the relationship between the number of hours spent on the trails and the number of miles traveled. This is not a graph of a mountain. It's not the graph of a hill. This has nothing to do with a mountain of a hill. This is a graph comparing how far they traveled and how long they took to travel. This is not a picture. So they start at 0, 0. That means before they went biking, they went 0 miles. Then you can see, so after 1 hour, they went 10 miles. After 2 hours, they went about 20. After 3 hours, they went about 32 and a half. So they're getting further. It has nothing to do with a hill. It's just how far they're traveling. So the question says, what happened in the 3 to 4 hour time period? Well, that would be right here. I can see that it's flat, meaning that time is still going on. Time is still passing. Time does not stop. But the amount of miles is not changing. This number right here is not changing. So they stopped, or they took a break. They needed to go to the bathroom. They needed to eat lunch. The Giants were on and they wanted to watch part of the game. Anything. They stopped. It'll probably multiple choice, so you just have to pick the choice that matches that. Number 8. The graph of a function is shown below, or to the right. For which interval of x is the function decreasing and linear? Interval just means like a time range. So at what time range is it decreasing and linear? So increasing, not increasing or decreasing, increasing. So that's not what they're asking about. They're asking about this section where it is decreasing and linear. Linear because it's a straight line. So at which section is that? Well, it starts here. So that's at 15, and it ends here at 40. So from 15 to 40. Find the slope and a y-intercept of the linear function below. You need to put this into slope-intercept form. Again, that's y equals mx plus b. So you need to get that by itself, so we need to do minus 3x to both sides. That will give us 5y equals 10 minus 3x. Divide each term by 5, and you'll end up with y equals 2 minus 3 over 5x. So the slope is negative 3 over 5, and the y-intercept is 2. Number 10, find the equation of a line with the given slope. Again, this should be easy. Y equals 1 over 4x minus 8. Number 11, find the equation of a line using the points listed in the table below. Okay. So you need two things to write the equation of a line. Y equals mx plus b. You need a slope and you need a y-intercept. The y-intercept is the point that has an x value of 0. So the y-intercept is negative 2. So that's great. I know that b equals negative 2. Now to figure out the slope, I use the slope formula. I'm going to pick these 2 points because those look the easiest. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So 28 minus negative 2, or 28 plus 2 over 6 minus 0. So that's 30 over 6, which just equals 5. So I know that the slope is 5. So y equals 5x minus 2. That's one way of doing this. I'm going to show you another way of doing this. You could use the point slope form of a line. Now, this one was easier to do the slope intercept because they gave you the y-intercept, because they gave you an x value of 0. But if they don't, then you have to do the point slope form of a line. So I'm going to do this on a new page, so don't get lost here. The slope is 5. That's not changing. So in the point slope form of a line, we know that it's y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. So we need to pick one of the points from the table. So I'm going to pick the point 628 because it doesn't matter. So the point I'm using is 628, and the slope is 5. We figured that out using the slope formula. Y minus 28 equals 5 parentheses x minus 6. Distribute. Y minus 28 equals 5x minus 30. Add 28 to both sides. Y equals 5x minus 2. So you could have done it this way as well. You guys know how to do that. Number 12. The graph pictured below is Sandy's water dish. What is one possible interpretation of the section of the graph from 30 to 60 seconds? So before I even answer this question, let's just look at the graph. It's telling you that this is Sandy's water dish. Before any time goes by, I see that there's 400 milliliters of water in her dish. So she starts with 400 milliliters of water. From 0 to 15 seconds, it stays at 400. That means Sandy has not touched it yet. But in between 15 and 30, it goes down from 400 to 300. That means that she drank 100 milliliters of the water. And then from 30 to 60, nothing's happening. So what is one possible interpretation between 30 and 60? Sandy stopped drinking to investigate a noise because she's not drinking there. The water is staying the same. Sandy was drinking? No, it's not going down. Sandy tipped the bowl of water over? No, then the water would be 0. The owner filled up the bowl with more water? No, then it would have went back up. All right, number 13, find the equation of the line graphed below. Well, I need a slope, so use the slope formula. M equals 5 minus 2 over 4 minus 0, which equals 3 over 4. Or you could have done 8 minus 5 over 8 minus 4, which is 3 over 4. So whichever point you wanted to pick, and I see that they give us the y-intercept of 2. Y equals 3 over 4x plus 2. What can you conclude about the graph of a line given by the equation y equals negative 5x? Well, I noticed that there is no y-intercept. So I know that the slope is negative 5. That's not a choice. And there's no y-intercept. No y-intercept means it goes through the origin. Number 15, the cost to rent a boat includes an initial fee of $9 plus $6.50 per hour. So that's the part that has the variable, per hour. So it has to be 9 plus 650x, choice B. Number 16, the graph below, models the cost of renting a car. There's a slight problem with this question, but we can still figure it out. The first thing I notice is that the initial value is 15, so let's get rid of B and C. And then we need to figure out the slope. So unfortunately, the slope is backwards here, but that's okay. So we're going to do rise over run. I'm going to go from the initial value to this point right here. So obviously it is down 1 over 25. So that would be 1 over 25. This is actually, should be reversed. The graph, I wish it was done the other way. I wish the miles driven were up here and the gallons were down here. And then the answer would be D. But just use process of elimination. The graph on the test is much better and more clear. Number 17, identify the correlation for each of the scatter plots below. Obviously, B has none. C is obviously negative. D is obviously positive. A, we didn't really get a chance to talk about. In A, as the X values increase, the Y values stay the same. So that's actually none correlation, but don't worry about this one. You don't need to know it. 18, which point in the scatter plot appears to be an outlier? Well, pretty obvious. If you had to pick one, it would be that one. So you have to look at, this looks like 18 weeks and about 170 or 165 they said, so D. Number 19, what are the slope and the y-intercept of the function below? So we can figure out the slope by doing the slope formula. 15 minus 12 over 2 minus 1 equals 3 over 1, which equals 3. Goodbye A, goodbye B. What's the initial value? It's either going to be 9 or 27. Well, it's not 27 because that's all the way over here. So it has to be 9. But you can just work backwards. Every time that the X values go up 1, the Y values go up 3. That's what the slope means. So every time the X value goes down 1 to 0, the 12 will go down 3 to 9. So the initial value is 9, so that would be C. Number 20, which equation represents the line in the graph? So it starts at 5, and so do all the choices, so that doesn't help us. We need to find the slope, rise over run, down 2 over 1. So it has a slope of negative 2, choice B. Number 21, a certain function is defined as multiply the input by -1/2, then add 3. Input is always x. The output value is always y. You input the number x, you do whatever the equation tells you, and it spits out the answer, the output, y. So this equation is y equals -1/2x plus 3. So if we have to graph it, so in order to graph it, I should write down the slope and the y-intercept. The slope is -1/2, and the y-intercept is 3. The y-intercept tells me where to start on the graph. I start right here at 3. And the slope tells me how to move, rise over run. Since it's negative, it's going to go down and to the right. That's what a negative slope is. Down 1/2, down 1/2, down 1/2, down 1/2, down 1/2. Go the other direction, up 1/2, up 1/2, up 1/2. Take out a ruler. And play a little game of connect the dots. It should be perfect. Go all the way across the graph. I'm begging you. Go all the way across. Arrows, equation, and you're done. So that's what this one should look like. Number 22. Consider the graph below. Find the slope and the y-intercept. The y-intercept is obviously 2. You don't need to show work. If you want to show work, just draw an arrow to it. Tell me, hey, that's the y-intercept. That one's obvious. Now we need to find the slope. So you need to pick 2 points from your line. So a lot of you I know are going to pick this point. So I'll do that one first. You either need to do rise over run or the slope formula. If you're going to do rise over run, show me what you did. Show me this. Down 2, over 2. So it has a slope of -1. If you're going to use the slope formula, show the work. So this coordinate is 0, 2. This coordinate is 2, 0. So 0 minus 2 over 2 minus 0 equals -2/2, which equals -1. That's the kind of thing we're looking for. Y equals -1x plus 2, or y equals -x plus 2. Both of those are fine. You could have picked a different point to make your life even easier so that you didn't have to deal with simplifying. So you could have picked the point they gave you and this one right here. That's a good point. So down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1. So that's still -1 as the slope. Explain how you can tell that the linear function graph has a negative slope. 2 good answers here. One, obviously, a better mathematical answer than the other one. So the non-mathematical answer is the line is going down and to the right. I will give you credit for that, but I really want to see you go above and beyond with your math vocabulary. So what you should be writing is, as the x values increase, the y values decrease. And that's exactly the same thing as saying down from left to right. X values increasing, that's left to right. And y values decreasing, that's down. So it's the same exact thing. What are the coordinates of the y-intercept? 0, 2. And that's it for that one. Nice and easy. Number 23, the equation y equals 10x plus 500 models the relationship between the number of video games, X, and a company manufactures, and the cost of dollars Y to manufacture that number of video games. Determine the cost in dollars to manufacture the different numbers of video games. You're supposed to do substitution here. Take these X values and substitute them right there where you see an X. Those are X values, there's an X. Substitute. Use your calculator, but show the substitution. So what I mean by that is y equals 10 times 0 plus 500. I am begging you, from this day forward, anytime you substitute a number into a formula or equation, use parentheses. positive, negative, 0, I don't care. Anytime you substitute a number into an equation or a formula, use parentheses. Because if you're going to put this in your calculator, this is what should go in your calculator. 10 parentheses 0 plus 500, and your calculator will take it from there. So 10 times 0 is 0, plus 500 is 500. Then y equals 10 times 50 plus 500. This is enough work for me, because you can go to your calculator. 10 times 50 is 500, plus 500 is 1,000. Then y equals 10 times 100 plus 500, so that's 1,000 plus 500, which is 1,500. Y equals 10 times 150 plus 500, that gives me 2,000. And y equals 10 times 200 plus 500, which gives me 2,500. So now we need to plot the points on this grid. So 0, I believe, was 500. 50 was 1,000. 100 was 1,500. 150 was 2,000. And 200 was 2,500. So plotted really nicely for us. Does the equation y equals 250 plus 500x represent a linear equation? Yes, it does. Here's why. So again, the non-mathematical answer is because these points form a straight line. I will accept that, but come on, do better than that. You guys are all capable of understanding a more mathematical answer, and you'll sound way smarter. So yes, these points have a constant slope or a constant rate of change. Or the equation is in y equals mx plus b form. That would be fine also. 24, use a linear equation to answer the following questions. You need the slope and y-intercept, so minus 6x from both sides. 2y equals 10 minus 6x. Divide everything by 2. Y equals 5 minus 3x, so a slope of negative 3, a y-intercept of 5. Graph it, start at 5, down 3 over 1, down 3 over 1, down 3 over 1, down 3 over 1, up 3 over 1, get out your ruler. I could do better than that. There we go. Lines, arrows, equation. I like to use the original equation, but either one is fine. Create an equation that is parallel to the equation graphed on the coordinate grid. Well, we know that parallel lines have the same slope. Parallel, same slope. So the slope has to be negative 3. So y equals negative 3x plus 1. Any number other than 5 will work there. And then the last one, find the equation in point-slope form of a line. So we need the slope. That's what part A is. So m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, which equals 8 minus 5 over 6 minus 5, 3 over 1, which is 3. Now put it in the correct form. They give you the form here. Y minus 5 equals 3 parentheses x minus 5, or y minus 8 equals 3 parentheses x minus 6. Both of those are fine. Now put it into slope-intercept form. 2 steps. Distributive property, get the y by itself. So y minus 5 equals 3x minus 15. Y equals 3x minus 10. Or y minus 8 equals 3x minus 18. Y equals 3x minus 10. Y equals 3x minus 10. So that's it. If you can do this review sheet, then you can do this test. Here's my advice. obviously, I want you to understand the concepts we're doing. I want you to understand what is slope, why we use slope, how to graph it. But if we're now a few days before a test and you're still struggling, here's the advice. Sit down with this video and your review sheet and do the entire thing. Take the questions you didn't know how to do and do them again. Then do them again. Then watch the video, then do them again. So if you're stuck, for example, on number 25, watch the video, then find the slope, then do part B, then do it again, then do it again, then change the numbers, pick new numbers. Here, I'll give you some new numbers if you want to practice. We'll 4, 6 and 5, 9. There you go. Find the equation of the line. Do it again, do it again, do it again. So at least when you get to the test, you might be able to somehow force out the right answer, even if you don't really understand it. But again, that's not ideal, but that's how you get a good grade. So use this review sheet, use the video. You guys have my email, Mr. Zuckerbrow, all one word like that, at gmail.com. I'll answer as soon as I can if I'm not busy, and then come in ready to go. Good luck.